when you see the word funeral, immediately you connect it with fear, darkness, a coffin, or something like that, right?
Grief.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
But if you look at the word funeral, it's the word fun, E, which is another word for God, Ra, the sun god. So in essence, there's nothing in the word funerals that's anything to do what we've been programmed to do. And it's the same thing that many words I'm scared of, that's the truth. How many times are you using that? So we could go on and on and on, but being a writer and author, you know, it's words are fascinating to me because it creates our understanding about the world we're living in. In the scriptures called Matrika Shakti, basically that the sentences we are using creates our reality. That's why we have mantras, you know, many different mantras and many different ways from the different scriptures, from not particularly Indian or Western scriptures, but they have talking about these holy names of God. They talk about mantras. And what do? They bring your consciousness, the mind, into a place of stillness and clarity where we start recognizing very spontaneously, without any doubt, who we truly are. And I've had experiences beyond the mind in a state of grace. Many people, they look at me and saying, well, look at Aros, you know, he has this friendly genes on, he must be some leftover hippie from the 60s. Truly, I have never taken drugs. Never, ever. And people say, no? What, like, how can you have this, whatever, in understanding? Well, I've never taken it, so I just want to make that clear. So most of the experience I've had, I've gone through in life, and in a state of grace, I've had this pathways beyond the mind. And who we are is divine, ecstatic, joyous, abundant being. Everything that you've identified with is a lie. It's the biggest lie perpetuated on the human consciousness. And the danger of this is that through generation, because we have identified with our storyline, coming back to 9/11, no matter how you look at it, it's still a storyline, and the storyline of the victims or the victimized, however you look at it, right? When I transcend the storyline, all of this simply doesn't exist anymore. So, when I look at myself, I'm a male, I'm a female, I'm old, I'm a young, I'm this and I'm that, right? Then I'm cheating myself. You can say I'm a divine, multidimensional being, and I'm playing this role for the heck of it. Just for the heck of it. It doesn't mean anything. And I think one of the greatest challenges for most people is to fully see and understand, at least it was for me, that life doesn't have a purpose. You know, we look for the purpose of my life. We look for it in our jobs, we look for it in our religion, we look for it in our relationships, we look at it for in our accomplishments. But it truly doesn't have a purpose. The only purpose there is to realize there is no purpose. Life is a dance, it's a journey, it's an adventure. It's like if you go to the bookstore and you read a novel or a detective story, you don't want to know it from the first page. What's going to happen, do you? You want the valleys and the mountains and the sunshines and the bad guys and the beautiful people and you know all of that, right? But life is not different. So suddenly when things are negative, God doesn't love me anymore. I'm not loved anymore. It's my pastor's fault. It's everybody's fault. God must really don't like me anymore. And you might laugh, and it's the truth. That's how we perceive our world. When it doesn't go accordingly to our imaginary existence, the ego, and it's everybody's fault. Why is my life this way? Who can I blame today? Who can we blame for 9/11? Because in our perception of ourselves, we have this programming. There's always a victim and a victimized. And in truth, it doesn't exist. It's all by agreement. In other words, if somebody goes out into the street and he or she's being robbed, it looks like from our vantage point that that person has been victimized. In truth, there's an agreement on a deeper level for a karmic release or a karmic balance to take place. So all bigger events like 9/11 or things like that are balancing of karmas. And since we cannot see the larger picture, we cannot see what those spirits or those souls have chosen for themselves in any given lifetime, we look at it from our limited understanding about who we are. But if I know I'm a divine multidimensional being, I'm radiant light, then I know that this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, everybody is the same, right? Then where's the grief coming from? You know, because we are living in times right now where you're going to experience so much transformation, and if you don't start embracing yourself as a divine multidimensional being, it's going to be a little bit rocky. And it's better to right now, this very moment, this is eternity, this is infinity, right now. It's not like you have to go and look for it sometime in the future. It is right now. This is infinity. This is the bliss of the self. This is it, right now. Because within this moment exists everything. You are divine, multi-dimensional beings. No one can ever take that away from you, not even your ego or your separate identification. I want to just ask you a very simple question right now. How do you feel, truly feel, not how you think, how do you feel in your heart and soul that you're being really told that you are a divine, multi-dimensional being? And I know that because I've had that experience within myself. How do you feel right now? Truly, tap into that. Anybody want to share how you feel?
For me, it feels like the highest truth I've ever had.
Anybody else?
It feels good. It feels like freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really free to know that.
Right. Because then you are making a conscious choice to be alive. Because you can live doesn't necessarily mean you're alive. I know people who are 10 years of age that are completely alive. And I know people who are 50 or 60 or 70, they're dead. So it doesn't have anything to do with an age. It's this understanding about who I am. I see some young people over here. You know what I'm talking about. You know, the indigo children, the crystal children, the rainbow children, these generations of great master souls that have taken upon themselves to come into the planet now to really be a vehicle, a bridge for this awareness that I am a divine, multi-dimensional being. So we all have to drop the pretense. It doesn't work anymore. Nobody's going to love you because you say, I'm a small, limited, separated human being. They're not going to love it anymore. They're going to say, oh, that's too boring. That's not my experience inside of me. Like Dr. Phil, you know Dr. Phil, if you call him on his answering service, no, Wayne Dyer. And he said, if you have a problem, don't talk to me, call Dr. Phil. Because everybody wants to share their problems. Nobody wants to share their love and their beauty and their joy and their ecstasy. True?
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, and I've been swimming and playing with dolphins in the open ocean in Hawaii for many, many years. Sometimes we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dolphins all around us. And when you're with the dolphins, you know, sometimes you don't know if it's 3,000 feet down below or if it's just like 30 feet. But nevertheless, you have that clear feeling of, wow, I am not this, whatever I perceive myself to be. Because at that moment, there's stillness. The ego is just vanishing because it's so in awe of the ocean, of the dolphins, the frequencies, the everything around. So it just becomes still. And there's the light from the sun, the rays of the sun shining through the surface of the water. The dolphins are spinning and dancing. There's light. And then if you dive down, you become part of this dance. And you transcend time and space. Time and space doesn't exist at that moment anymore. And of course, the dolphins, for me, are totally multidimensional travelers. And they live in this place of unconditional love. You know, they don't care if you have a Cartier watch or you have the latest outfit or whatever. The only thing they care about is your heart. It's the only thing they see. They see the beauty and the innocence of every heart. That's why people love the dolphins. Humans we don't see. We see hairdos and clothes and good or fat or thin or big or tall or ethnic and all of that stuff, right? The dolphins only see the beauty, the innocence of the human heart. It's truly innocence once it's awakened from this imaginary feeling of not being good enough. And the dolphins mirrors that all the time. And it's a miracle to observe people being with the dolphins. People become like children. Childlike, not childish, childlike. And you know, be childlike is a very high state of consciousness. Many of the great masters always surround themselves with children because the children mirroring that purity, that innocence that we really are. If you look at Krishna, for example, he played, he played with his peers, you know, and when he opened his mouth, they saw the universe, you know, and then he did all these naughty things all the time, right? And then when he was older, he played with the gopis. You know, the gopis, the milkmaids. And the milkmaids were, of course, they were married and they had their, they had their daily duties, right? But each time Krishna came playing his flute, his magical flute, they dropped everything. Babies, husbands, jobs, works, just to be with Krishna, right? And then sometimes when they were swimming in the lake, they took off their clothes, he stole their clothes. Because they were timid to get out of the water. And he was going to show them, you know, as long as you identify with your physical body, you know. And of course, at one moment, they became so immersed in Krishna that there was only Krishna, right? So, this is what it's all about. It's a joy, it's a dance, it's ecstasy.